Hey guys, welcome back from Classic Work. Today I was going to talk a little bit about hand planes, and I was going to show some beginner things on hand planes, and I was also going to show some more advanced things. Like, typically when you think of a hand plane, you think of this kind of plane. Now this is a little smoother plane, and there's tons and tons and tons of different styles out there. And typically you're either going to see one of these type of planes or one of these little block planes. And that makes up probably, I would say, at least 85% of the type of planes that you're going to see out there. But there are others out there that may not look like planes, but they are. Like this cookie looking plane right here. This here's a router plane. And all of them have different jobs and different, aspects that they do. Now here's another one over here that's a little bit different that you won't see very often. This right here is a dado plane, or a rabbit plane. Well, this is not really a rabbit plane, but yeah, it's a dado plane. It cuts grooves and things. And you get into the really old-fashioned ones. This here is a wooden plane, and as you can tell, there's no adjustments on it. Everything is done by hand. Now, I think this is a joiner plane, but I'm not exactly sure. It may be even a scrub plane the way it's designed. But I'm going to teach you everything I know about picking a plane collection for your shop, and show you some advanced techniques in unusual planes like this one right here. And I'm going to give you my top picks that I would prescribe, I guess you would say, for any beginner or advanced woodworker. So let's get after it. I'm just going to give y'all a quick lowdown on all the basic planes out here. I don't know if there's any musicians out there or not, but if you can kind of imagine this as a string section, as a quartet. You have your violins over here, you have your violas right here, you have your cellos right here, and you have your great old big basses over here. And they all work together to do the same job. And we're going to start over here in the violin section. This here is a block plane, and this is a low angle block plane, meaning that the iron sits real low in the plane. Now these right here are extremely handy. They're great for putting on little profiles on edges like chamfers. They're also good for hitting real quick areas. If you just need to run over something one time, instead of bringing out your big planes, you can use a block plane. They also can cut end grain. Most low angles can, and they're pretty good at it. They're not great, but they are good at it. And this right here is probably the #1 plane that you're going to use. It's extremely handy, they're extremely affordable, and they're good planes. The next one on the list is in the viola section. This right here is a smoother plane. Now this is a finished plane. It's made to take all the chips and roughness out that some of your roughing planes left in. And they're really good. You can get results better than sandpaper with a smoother plane if you have a sharp blade and you know how to use it. Smoother planes are great little planes. As you can tell, it's bigger than the block plane here, but it's still very easy to wield. Great plane. The next one in the cello section over here. This right here is a jack plane, and as the name suggests, it's kind of a jack of all trades. It can do a little bit of all these planes combined. It may not do them as well, but it can. And the jack plane in my shop is probably the #1 used plane. And it's a great plane. It's very versatile. And this is one of the few planes that you can go against the grain with and still, have good success with it. But great plane. Finally, over here in the bass section is the joiner plane. As you can see, this thing is ginormous. I think this one here is a 22 inch, but they make 24 inches in these models. But this right here is your bass section. This right here is for straightening and squaring boards. If you have a big board that's got a crook in it, this right here will take it out. As you can see, its size and its length really help it to take big chunks out in one pass. And that's where you use your other smaller planes to get rid of all the big chips and make it a pretty board. But that's the lowdown on your string section in planes. Okay, we're going to look a little bit at our specialty planes here, and I've got quite a collection here. First one we'll start off is this one over here. This plane right here, I know it looks like just a normal plane, but it's got a side cut out in the side of the sole here. This here is what's known as a rabbit plane, and these are made, say if you had a real large rabbit that was about, you know, an inch or an inch and a half wide, and you've got a corner down in there that you can't really get into, you can take this plane right here and get up in it. Rabbit planes, they're pretty neat. This right here, this is a pretty big model. They make smaller ones. Actually, they make a rabbit plane and a block plane, and those are extremely handy tools. But this one here, when I bought it, I didn't know much about them, but it's helped out some. It's not a plane I would recommend, but it is a pretty neat plane. Second on the list over here, this right here is a router plane. Now, how it works is you've got this iron down here that you lower from the sole to a depth of cut that you want, and then you just push the plane through like a dado or a rabbit. You can even true tenons with this plane as well. This is a very, very handy plane, especially if you're making real narrow dados, and say some of them are got high spots in them and you need to knock them down. And that's a very, very handy tool, and I've enjoyed my router plane. Next plane on here is a shoulder plane. Now this one right here, this is probably the second most used plane I have in my shop. Because it's so little and it's so handy. Just like the rabbit plane, it's got open face on both sides that you can get up into something and plane something very, very small. It's great for tenons, it's great for dados if they're no bigger than the width. I think the width on this is 3/4 of an inch, which is perfect if you're making 3/4 inch dados. And it's just really, really handy. I've enjoyed my little shoulder plane. The next one over here is this great big old wooden hand plane. Now, I say this is a joiner plane, but the only thing is the sole on this plane, or the blade I should say, is slightly rounded, which makes me believe that this is a scrub plane. Some of y'all out there might give me a better perspective on it. Any info I'd be appreciated. But a scrub plane is made to take huge amounts of material off in one pass. Some scrub planes can even take off as much as 1/8 of an inch, which is a lot in planes. But they're made for roughing purposes. This is not a finished tool at all. And it's a great plane. This one here, I don't know how old it is. It's well over 100 years old if I was to take a guess. And it works good. I'm going to show you how to work it here in a little bit. Some of y'all might be puzzled on how it works, but I'm going to give a demonstration on a few planes that y'all would like to see, and we'll just go from there. First one I'm going to show you is this little shoulder plane. And this here is what it was designed for, is to clean out, say, this rabbit right here. What you do is you take the plane and you reference it up against this shoulder right here and clean it out. Say your table saw, the depth setting wasn't just right to make this, and you only need to shave it down only a couple of, thousandths of an inch. And you can just go back in there and clean it straight out. The next one I'm going to show you is this little router plane. And this tool right here is great for getting all the bumps or anything out of a dado. And to set the tool, what you do is you loosen up the little set screw here on the side that holds the blade secure. You're going to put it down in the groove and lay it nice and flat on top. Now you're going to take your blade and touch the bottom of the groove. Once you've established that, you can pull it out and put maybe about 1/8 of a turn on there and then tighten it down. This way you don't take out too much material in one pass. Alright, here we go. And you can make some nice fine shavings. Alright, turn it around and come the other way. gonna do a little demonstration with the big old joiner plane now, so you can see what kind of reference the sole has with a length piece. Start back here. And it's made for heavy stock removal. Okay, once you've established that you have a straight piece, you can come back with your smoother and smooth them out. And now you've got a nice surface. Now for the one y'all have all been waiting for. Let's see how she does. Oh. I don't know if you can tell. That's a thick shaving. It's made to take off big chunks. One last thing I was going to show y'all is how to set up a wooden hand plane. Since they don't have adjustments on them like this jack plane does, you've got your lateral adjustment back here to shimmy the blade left and right for depth of cut. And you also have an adjustment right here for plunge of cut. If you can tell, wooden hand plane doesn't have any of that. So how do you adjust it? It's real simple actually. And this is the wrong kind of hammer you would use. You'd want to use a brass hammer. But you can tap either side of the blade to get it to go down, or you can hit the back of the blade to make it plunge deeper. The way you get it out of there, if you need to sharpen the blade, is this wedge will not come out once you drive it down in there with the blade. What you do is just take your dead blow and hit the back of the plane pretty hard. So you're going to smoke it about 3 times. Still hasn't moved. Try again. She went down. And there you go. And remove your wedge, blade, and chipper. And you know, you see me hitting on a over 100-year-old plane, but that's the way it was done back then. And to put it back together is just as simple, except you hit the wedge instead of hitting the back of the plane. But that's pretty much the basics on all your different types of planes. I hope you got something out of it and hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, once again from Classic Work, y'all take care.